Greetings and welcome to the special Supercomputing 25 edition of IT SPARC Cast. It's Friday, November 21st, and IT SPARC Cast is a digest of the IT news over the last week with insights, opinions, and a little sarcasm from two experts, each with over 20 years of experience working in IT or for IT vendors. And normally on Fridays, we publish the CVE of the week. However, in this case, Lou is just wrapping up acting as our intrepid reporter on the floor at Supercomputing 25. He's taken a lot of great videos and we'll be releasing those as shorts over the next week on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on X. That being said, Lou has also put together a great overview of the biggest things he's seen this week. If you're on the audio podcast, I recommend that you head over to YouTube where we've added pictures and videos overlaid on what he's talking about so that you get a better idea. I'll put a link to the YouTube video in the audio podcast release notes. And with that, over to Lou.
So hey, this is Lou from IT SPARC Cast, and I'd like to give you guys sort of a conclusion of what I think Supercomputing 25 was all about. And this will also help explain some of the videos you're going to see coming. So I wandered all over the whole. First of all, it was huge. I have been to Supercomputings before as a vendor. I have never seen it this busy. I have never seen the show floor that packed. So there was, it seems to be taking the place of a lot of the things like Interop and Supercom and all those others that existed in the past. A couple of themes stood out. We definitely saw the Intel, the AMDs. NVIDIA was everywhere. I definitely stopped by their booth and said, hey, you guys have got a couple of years backlog on some of these chips. Why are you even here? And their answer was, well, you're right about that. But you know, there's applications and cool things we want to show off, and stuff is now shipping. Like the DGX unit is now shipping. You can buy it from several vendors. So that was pretty neat. But I saw an overriding for folks who are in the enterprise or just really curious about this, a couple of overriding themes. One is cooling. And cooling was absolutely huge. I did some digging into this, and essentially there's really two ways you can do cooling, and there are some variations on them. One is immersion cooling, where you put your entire infrastructure into oil or a phase change liquid, and I've got separate videos that cover that. The other one is doing some sort of active liquid cooling of just the chips. The consensus that I was able to draw in talking to a number of folks is that if you are going to use a device for, say, 3 years and you think you're going to rotate it out, doing a liquid cooling thing with something they call PG25, which is polyethylene glycol 25. It's basically antifreeze, 25% antifreeze, 75% water. That is just enough to make sure you don't get biologicals growing in this thing. Seems to be the preferred method in North America. Now, there's some challenges with that, and one of those is as you run this stuff through heat sinks to pull this heat away, you sort of have to lip it down into smaller passages, and what you'll get is erosion. Right. Another problem you'll run into is something called cavitation, where if it's going too slow or too fast and hitting a feature, you'll get bubbles in it. And that's why I have an interview with Moog, who does sensors to detect that. That is something you might have to think about. So the challenge is, though, you have a thermal state on the top of the chip where you're pulling the heat away, and then that chip's heating up and cooling down really quickly as you dump workloads onto it and pull them off. And what you'll end up getting is sort of thermal cycling tension between the top of that microcircuit and the board it's attached to, and that can eventually lead to failure of the solder joints. So kind of talked, some folks agreed with that, some folks didn't. Talked to one company that has a really cool solution for spraying a phase change material onto the back of the heat sink in an enclosed chamber. It evaporates, and that you don't have to worry about pitting and cavitation, but you still have the issue of the thermal delta. Now, if you're going to throw away this thing like it's a graphics card and you don't care about it after 3 years, no big deal. Right? But if you want to hold on to your stuff longer, which is something we're definitely seeing, you need to do something a little more involved. And that is put this stuff in a fluid, whether it is the Doug solution or several others that I saw that are using sort of an mineral oil based solution. I saw another very interesting one that you'll get a video of as well that actually boils. It's a phase change fluid that changes phase at 55 degrees C, and it boils. And they're both very valid solutions. The advantage of these things is because you even out the temperature across your board, it is going to last longer. And that is another theme that I saw, right? So I talked to a number of vendors that are doing the PCI forum, interop group and stuff had PCI extension, but there's a newer protocol called CXL, which extends memory directly off of the machine. And here's how it works. So what the PCIe bus does is we need to extend that bus and then we need to map memory on it. It's really the fastest way to do this. So what they do, I interviewed one company that has has CXL switches, so you can have multiple hosts actually share a massive amount of memory or graphics resources. So you can have a bunch of NVIDIA cards and share them between these hosts. Another thing you can do is have a big chunk of memory and a big chunk of vector processing graphics cards, and you can assign memory from your memory pool to those cards. So say you've got 32 gig or 64 gig or whatever on your NVIDIA card, and you've got a much bigger model. You're like, oh crap, I got to buy a new card. Not necessarily. So this new stuff is really neat. You can take and map 512 gig to that card, or whatever the limit is of what they can spoof the BIOS. The other really neat thing is that you could have a box of memory, or you could have one server that has a huge amount of memory. You buy a new server, and then you can share out that memory to existing servers. One of the big reasons we replace servers is because we've run out of places to put either additional cards or memory. The processors are fine, right? So that's a thing. We're going into a weird period. We've definitely seen some signs of recession. We've seen NVIDIA hold up quite well. The news for that came out the day that this recording was made I'm here in St. Louis. But the thing is that we're often asked to do more with less. And if you can take an older server and actually extend its memory by using this newer technology, you have a major leg up. You can spend your money on other things. So that was very cool. The last thing that really stood out for me was the number of folks that are offering cloud hybrid type solutions for things like AI. So I talked to two companies in particular. Both of them grew out of research efforts, and I chose those two specifically because one of them is fully FedRAMP compliant and actually can work in the defense sector. So folks, if you're watching this and you work with defense or you have to work with the feds, you'll want to take a look at this, right? The other one is another effort that grew out of a European research organization that I think has a really nice solution for managing a hybrid cloud system where you have a lot of containers and virtual machines, but you want to share it into the cloud, and you're not necessarily want to do this on VMware. So you'll see that video come out as well. A couple of other random things are cool. You wouldn't believe how much big iron there was out there as far as cooling and power. It was nuts. But it was a very good show. It was very interesting. And for you in enterprise, you should be seeing a lot of trickle-down technology come out of this. So thanks for watching. Look for those shorts. Looking forward to telling you more about what's going on. We're going to do this again. This was a lot of fun. Thanks.
That was a great overview from Lou. I hope you're excited to hear more about it over the next week as we release all the videos. I've seen all the videos that he's shot, and there are some really great, insightful things that are going on with all those things he talked about regarding cooling, with CXL, and with AlmaLinux, and all these other things. So really, really impressive stuff. Speaking of AlmaLinux, before we wrap up, I do want to get some listener feedback. On Thursday, we released the video that Lou shot at the booth for AlmaLinux, which is really the successor to CentOS. It was really exciting what's going on over there. So Scott reached out to us on LinkedIn, and he said AlmaLinux stepped up at just the exact moment the industry needed stability and clarity. This shift shows how powerful community-driven solutions can be when the enterprises are looking for trust and long-term predictability. And I couldn't agree more. When the changes happened with CentOS, a lot of people freaked out. They got very vocal, and that's what's great about community-driven development like the Linux and other open source projects. And you don't like something, you get vocal about it. If it doesn't get fixed, you just replace it. You fix it or replace it on your own. That's what the community does, and that's being driven by Linus and others that are just, that's what their mantra. We also got a good thank you from AlmaLinux for posting the video, and we're really great to help support them because it is a great project. And that is going to cover this episode, but we couldn't do this podcast without listeners like you. We would love to hear what you think. Do you like these on the floor reporting from trade shows like SuperComputing? Should we do more of those? We plan to do more. We want to hear from you. Do you have another topic you want us to cover? Send email to feedback@itsparkcast.com or hit us up on X at IT SPARC Cast. Or just like so many other people, you can hit us up on LinkedIn, and we have links to our LinkedIn profiles in our show notes. You can find those there. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment down below. We read every piece of feedback and every comment that we get. We respond to most. And if it's particularly interesting or insightful, like Scott's was, we will read it out on our broadcast. So with that, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to make sure that you never miss a single episode, especially as those shorts are coming out over the next week. And with that, from the world of enterprise IT, take care.